What is up, Project Diablo 2 fans? Varric here. So, as you guys may know, I've been doing a lot more testing as we get into Season 9. I put together a list of feedback for Season 10 that I really think would help improve the game a little bit. Just some class changes, abilities changes, item changes that I think have been a long time coming, or maybe some new ideas that I think would really help the game. Really, my attempts are just change up the playstyle a little bit, change up the meta, further diversify abilities and items to different classes. So, without further ado, let's get into it. Let's have some fun. All right, so I don't really have any other way to do this than just be a talking head, and we're just gonna try to go through it all one take. But yeah, why don't we start off at the top of the list with Amazon? So Amazon, I didn't do a whole lot of testing on, but I think that was for obvious reasons, in the sense that like it's really hard to change it up with Amazon because they're kind of stuck where they are. I feel like I wasn't really having the ability to do a whole lot with them that hasn't already been done. But what I do think is they need a gap closer. I think they need a way to jump into a pack a little more effectively. They do have an ability, the two-handed spear, that gives plus joust on it. Now, I think this is a cool ability, but this cooldown is so low and you only get +2 joust with it, where I think if it had a higher joust, then you would be able to use a lot more effectively, because you do find yourself just sort of waiting on joust cooldown, even though you're doing like big damage. And you're kind of just stuck on that ability to use a teleport, right? So you either have that or Enigma, and I think we all know that Enigma, you're also just waiting on cooldowns. It would help if Joust CDR was on soft points, so if they're not going to improve the Joust on it, I think changing Joust to have more CDR with soft points, which I'll get into a little bit, down by Paladin. Assassins, I didn't really test anything. Again, sort of same thing with Amazon. I was sort of hard stuck on like trying to find different ways to play it. I think it's already kind of been done. One thing I thought would be cool, I didn't want to include it on the list, but like maybe some sort of assassin or summon assassin build. Some people didn't respond well to that, so that's fine. But you do have those cool shadow warriors, maybe like be able to summon more as you put points into it. But I didn't really include that on the list. Barbarian, definitely some changes I can make with Barbarian. I do think the Warcry needs the synergies consolidated. It's a little frustrating when you have like 7 synergies for an ability where like you're never going to max all those out like with as many skill points as possible. I don't like that. I don't like not being able to max something out. So I think consolidating those synergies into like maybe 2 or 3 and just changing up the synergy percentage bonuses would be helpful. Frenzy, I appreciate what they've done for Frenzy. Very happy with what increased skill investment does to it. However, I do think that the total stacks needed at high levels is still kind of ridiculous. I think you need like 10 or 12 or maybe even more stacks. I like the duration that you get from max stacks, but I think that should be static even with 1 point investment. It's almost like, yeah, I feel like I don't feel like stacking it up at high levels. I'd rather just put 1 point into it because I don't need to stack it as quickly. But then of course you're left with a short cooldown duration. Mastery. This is like a class fantasy of mine. I have always wanted to have like a cool sword and board build. And I think it would be cool. They have the ability to use two-handed swords in one hand. But it ends up being like not a good item to use. I mean, you're better off like using a berserker's axe or something like that. I think it would be cool to have a mastery that increased the damage of that two-handed item in your one hand, as long as you're wearing that and a shield. So maybe like maxing skill investments into that almost makes it closer to like a two-handed sword, or to the damage that it would be as a two-handed weapon. Going down to Druid, Summon Grizzly, I think it doesn't feel right to only have 2 bears at 20 skill investment. I mean, you have a lot of other classes that the more you invest into it, the more you're able to summon. Golems for one, assassin or Amazon pets for one, like the Vikings. Now I think those are more soft points. I think they get 20 and 30. They get an additional one. So maybe have that happen with Grizzlies, like maybe soft points 20, 30. But I think 10 hard, 20 hard gives you an additional Grizzly. So that'd be nice. Hurricane is frustrating because when you're shouting using Armageddon, and like a lot of people dump a single point into Hurricane, just to have that little extra protection from the cold damage. It gets frustrating because the cooldowns are all different, so you're having to refresh them all at different times. I would rather have the Hurricane buff duration increased to make it more likely, more similar to Armageddon, so that you're able to kind of rebuff them at the same time. I also said damage buff. I mean, yeah, it's just at 20 skill investment, it's just kind of a wet noodle and doesn't really do all that much. So it would be cool to have like a pure Hurricane build, but I'm fine without it. I'd rather just the duration be buffed. Arctic Blast. I don't know if this is a known bug. I'm sure it is. I say the same thing with Inferno, Dawn, and Sorceress, but when you keybind Arctic Blast or Inferno, like with a quick cast ability, when you press the key, it continues to cast like indefinitely, like it doesn't stop. Versus when you right click it, if you right click it, as soon as you let go of the right click, it stops casting. So I don't know if that's a known thing, but that is frustrating. Like when you're wanting to like Arctic Blast teleport, you have to press teleport twice to stop the cast of Arctic Blast, as long as you're using quick cast. So it's a little frustrating and kind of annoying to play. Going down to Necromancer. So this idea was put out a couple times, not by me. I just saw it in feedback. Revive is very frustrating because you're always gonna have to like go get new revives, and depending on the actual revive you want to use, it's never practical to use them because it takes a long time to get them. Namely, council members in Trav, I think, yes, it is cool just to do a quick Trav and like summon and, revive them and then go to your map. But for people who just want to like bang out maps, I think it can be frustrating. So for a full revive build, it would be cool to have permanent revives that just stuck around with you so you don't have to constantly revive them. Moving down to Desecrate, kind of along the same thing of revive, it would be better. I think it would be, better quality of life if revive does not consume corpses. You can make this flat across the board, or you could say like only doesn't consume corpses from Desecrate. I think it's so frustrating to have to like keep fishing for your Desecrate to get the certain mob you want, and like you're clicking, you're misclicking. It's just frustrating. So I think it would be nice if revive didn't consume the corpse. Golems, yes, Golems, kind of similar to Warcry, just consolidate Golems energy. It's very frustrating to have to like put all those points into Golems if you just want to do a Golem build. I do think that you have more of like the defensive type Golems, like maybe Iron Golem and Clay Golem, and you have more of the offensive, obviously Fire Golem or Blood Golem. You could even say like Clay and Blood are the more defensives, and maybe Iron and Fire are the more offensives. Now Iron kind of sucks. I mean, if you look into it, Iron is not a very good Golem. The defense is terrible, the damage is terrible. They really just serve as a purpose to be Aura bot. So I don't know. Maybe mix that up a little bit. Maybe have the two kind of categorizations, and then put the synergies accordingly. But again, consolidate Golems. Golem synergies. Lastly, Life Tap. Life Tap, I think it's a frustrating ability because yes, it obviously has its uses as long as you're using the Last Wish. I mean, I think when it comes to the actual Necromancer, I don't think Life Tap is really doing anything for them. I think like your Paladins using it, your Barbarians using it. Yeah, sure, they're getting Life Tap and it's helpful. But for the Necromancer itself, yeah, I know your pets can use it. I know your pets can help like get their life back from it. But it's just not really an ability that benefits the Necromancer. And thematically, it just doesn't fit for me. Like, oh, I got to go smack this mob to get health back from it. No, it's not really a Necro thing. So I think having it... changing up Life Tap or just adding a new curse that, maybe consumed the life essence of the corpse, or, allowed, put a curse on a mob that allowed its death to give you health back, right? Because I think a big part of Necromancer is like their sustain is really bad unless they're playing a build that they're specifically the ones killing the mob. But they're such summoners, they do sort a lot of things that don't necessarily, they're not the ones killing it, their pets are. So I think it would be cool to have a different way to sustain themselves than just having to rely on Phoenix, which is a frustrating shield because you have to wait for that redemption proc. So that just doesn't feel good. Again, people have made the argument like they're summoners, they don't have anything else to do, they should be chugging potions. But regardless, would be cool to see that curse changed up a little bit. Getting down into Paladin now, I spent a lot more time on Paladin because I really want Paladin to be good, and I really want them to have cool map clearing potential, but they don't, right? I mean, Sacrifice is probably their only ability that is very good. I worry that because Sacrifice is so set apart from the rest of the build that they're going to nerf Sacrifice. But I would think what needs to happen is they just need to buff the other stuff to bring them more in line with Sacrifice, because that's like, it's the only build you want to play, right? And through my testing, I just always ended up using Sacrifice and being like, why don't I just make a Sacrifice Paladin? Because it's just obviously better. So that being said, let's go into some of these changes. Joust definitely needs to have soft points to reduce the cooldown. It's very frustrating to have to max out Joust and to have to use one of the Joust items, whether it be Alma Negra or the King Lyric Sword. And that's the only way to get your Joust cooldown to a respectable level for fast map clearing. Thinking like something like Druid, where they have Gust, where you don't necessarily need to max it out. It helps it reduces the cooldown with soft points. You can reduce it more with Quetzalcoatl Helm. I mean, even some builds, some elemental builds where you just put in Quetzalcoatl and you put one point into Gust gets you the max cooldown reduction. So that would be nice if Paladin could have that. The Holy Tree, holy crap, it's bad, man. It's just bad. I think the obvious thing is like, it's better to play on striking holy abilities than to actually just have the holy build itself, right? Like hammer casts with Akkarats, or Fist of the Heaven procs with, or hammer procs with Akkarats, or Fist of the Heaven procs with Asylum felt better to me than just playing the caster itself, which I think is just feels bad. And again, that's not a reason to nerf Asylum or Akkarats. It's more of a, please buff them. Please buff Holy Tree. Holy Tree in general is just not very good. So yeah, you can see Blessed Hammer. Blessed Hammer is a cool ability, but I feel like we're constantly in that curse of like, well, it used to be GG in D2, so like we can't make it too good here. But it just doesn't feel good. I mean, I think either the splash radius needs to be higher. I think you need to alternate cast directions, or mainly, most specifically, you need to have no collision from terrain. I think a big part of it, and a lot of things people talk about in Paladin chat, is like, it's no point because you hit a rock, you hit a wall, the hammers are going to die. So like, it's just kind of a useless talent. And then Fist of the Heavens, yeah, I just don't feel like the synergies do enough. I mean, I made builds that like maxed out synergies, maxed out magic damage, and they just did not feel like they were strong at all. So I think that could use some love. Aura, as you could probably already see if you're reading ahead, I think it would be really cool to have a faster cast rate Aura. I mean, we think of like all the breakpoints we try to go for, and Paladin can always like, they can get your conviction, they can get your, fanaticism, they can do resists with salvation, right? They have all these abilities to, fill in that checkbox you needed in your class. I think it'd be really cool to have a faster cast rate Aura, because I think that would change up playstyle. I think that would, or change up gearing, right? I think especially if you had like a faster cast item or something like that, like a rune word that gave the Aura, that yeah, you would obviously want to fix that Aura into your build, fix that rune word into your build, and then you can kind of adjust the playstyle accordingly at the where you'd have to sacrifice some other Aura, right? So anyway, I thought that would be cool. I thought it might change the game up a little bit. Lastly, charge. Paladin charge continues to, in my opinion, just not feel good to play. It's obviously still a good ability. I mean, obviously people play charger, but I think the annoying part is that they added that mechanic that the longer the charge, the more damage it did, but the longer charge just leaves you ending up bugging out your charge, right? Because it kind of desyncs it and it just gets all weird. So I think a cooler way to do that would be faster run walk based. So like the more faster run walk you had, the more damage you did, right? So that incentivizes players to get like really fast run walk, and likely maybe you run Vigor Aura, right, as like your main aura, because it adds, you know, increased damage to your charge. So I think that would be a better way. No one's trying to go for those long charges. You're able to just do short, quick charges and do a lot of damage with it. Sorceress. On the Sorceress, I think Hydra could really use some love. I've always wanted to do a cool Hydra build. I'm very summoner focused. I like to be able to summon things and like have your pets do damage. But Hydra just doesn't feel very good. So whether they need to give their fireballs more explosion radius or give them like pierce on their projectiles would be helpful. It seems weird that we're just capping the number of Hydras. I mean, for a build to be cool, you'd want to like go out and spam out all your summons and then move on. But it just feels weird being so limited with the amount of Hydras. I mean, why not just uncap it, reduce the duration of the Hydras, or only have them like maybe a set number of shots before they go away. So I mean, just cap it at that. So like you can cast them as much as you want, but the duration, or they're just gonna end up falling out before you get to, you know, too many high casts. So I think it would be cool to just uncap the amount of Hydras and just balance accordingly. And then Inferno, as I said, same thing as Arctic Blast. You know, when you press the skill key, it just keeps casting Inferno and doesn't stop, which is frustrating. All right, that's all the class changes. I really wanted to get into that and talk about that and kind of explain my reasoning. Again, this video is going to be pretty long, but I want to talk about everything. Call to arms, yeah, change it to 3 to 6 instead of 2 to 6. I think it's so frustrating, especially early game, to invest into an Ohm and you get like +2 on your skills. That's such a high range for such a, at the time, expensive rune word. Because early game ohms, you don't want to just be tossing out ohms like that, and I think to have it roll 2 is just, it just feels bad. And I think even if it was 3 to 6, it would still have good feel bad potential, but like not aggressively so. And I think like, yes, obviously with Runewords, with this game, you have high risk, high reward. But I think it makes it a little too feel bad to roll 2 to 6. I think 3 to 6 would be better. Breath of the Dying Man, just buff it. It's already a dead rune word, and then having Zod be so expensive this season, it just is even more of a dead rune word. I think it's a cool rune word. I think it's a staple rune word that's all the way back to LOD. Give it some love, man. I don't know how you're gonna do it. Just give it love. Maybe give it poison damage or pierce along top of the poison nova. Maybe have a higher skill level poison nova, higher proc chance. I don't know. Give it something. I would say more along the lines of like poison damage and pierce, not so much as changing the nova, because I think it's already a strong nova. Change the ED, give it something else. I don't know. Do something with it so it makes it worth using. Because right now, even before season 9, it was like, don't use it, don't make it, it's not worth it. So more so now. All right, getting more into it. Yeah, make a rune word, a shield rune word that has increased attack speed. There is none. There does not exist a rune word or shield in general that has increased attack speed. So I think it'd be cool. It would incentivize more of the sword and board builds to have a shield that gave attack speed. Shattered Wall, put it into all shield types. I think it's kind of lame that it only goes to paladins. So I think that would get a lot more playstyle if it was all shields. Blink or Enigma, the blink, I would reduce the recharge cooldown to maybe like 2.5 or 2, probably 2.5. 2 is probably a little too much. But it is frustrating to play some builds that rely on Enigma to blink around, that it doesn't matter how much runes they put into the build, namely like Warcry Barbarian, doesn't matter how strong you make it, you're still just waiting on your blink casts, which is frustrating. Yeah, a shield that rune word that gave +2. I'm thinking similar to like Delirium, where it gives +2, so that when you find it's for necromancers, their offhands. When you find a cool necromancer base, there's not a whole lot you can do with it, but it would be cool to have like a +5 ability to make a +5 for some cool necromancer base. So like maybe it was +3 fire golem mastery, and then you put a Delirium like rune word into it, and you get the +2 skills, and then that makes it +5. So something that would be cool for necromancers. Add a prayer rune word aura. I think, or prayer aura rune word. I think it's a very cool ability, very cool aura, and I think a lot of people would use that. So it would be nice to have a prayer rune word. Harmony, let this be made in something metal, right? I'd say put it in like scepters. I think would be probably the best idea. I want to be able to have a vigor iron golem. I just think it would be cool. I think it'd be a good thing to have. I think a lot of people would use that because I think you know, sometimes you're really just looking for better speed for your pets. So yeah, I think making harmony and like a scepter would be a good idea. Infinity. This is probably going to turn some heads, but I feel like Infinity feels old. I feel like it's outdated. I feel like we haven't really changed it a whole lot since LOD, and where it was only really supposed to be for a sorceress. Now, obviously, it can still be used for a sorceress, but I think a lot more classes use it now. And a lot of those skills go to waste. I think it's frustrating that it's only lower light res. I would like to have different auras or different elements benefit from it. Obviously, like fire, cold. So you know, I think it's frustrating that they don't. I think it's frustrating that it's only light res. I think that a lot more classes would like to use a self-wheeled Infinity, but can't or don't just because it's like they're not getting the best skill investment from it. I know it's, you know, yes, they have static shock. I know that, you know, a Nova build is not going to use static shock as they get end game. So I get that the Infinity is going to be helpful. But still, I think it feels just like an outdated rune word at this point. All right, moving on to uniques and sets. Create a +1 belt for non-caster types. I think that a lot of classes and builds would like a +1 belt, but it's like I don't need the faster cast rate. It doesn't really do anything for me otherwise. Kind of feels bad just to put that belt on just for a +1. Head Striker, man, Head Striker is such a cool item, such a cool weapon. I think it needs a rework. I would love to see it changed up. The DS is scales on skill level or scales on character level. Maybe make it like scales by 0.75 per level and then increase the ED on it or something. But it just feels weird to overcap your DS, your deadly strike at level 75. So yeah, rework that. Purgatory, man, I say this every freaking season. Make it roll only ethereal. It's just it's a cool item, but like no one cares about it if it's not ethereal. Please make it ethereal. That's it. Executioner's Justice, another item that I think is a really cool one. I think it's a staple to the game, but no one uses it. No one cares about it. Yes, I don't mean to have someone be like, well, I use it and this build uses it, but I think it when it got its nerf to no longer cast amp, or was it decrepify, I think it just died. I don't think people care about it anymore. It would be cool to have maybe like Grimoire Totem on death or Warcry on striking. I think that would be a really cool way to change it up a little bit and to maybe make some cool like physical builds from it. Same thing on Warcry on striking. I think it'd be cool to have a Warcry on striking Barb Helm. Yeah, I just think Warcry on striking would be a really awesome ability and make some cool new builds with it. Triangle set rework. The fire skills, man, just take them off. Like, it's a good set. Triangles doesn't really need a whole lot of rework. Just take these skills off. It just looks so stupid. I don't know. It bothers me that they're still there. I know I think it used to have a lot of like fire mastery. So I feel like when you took off the fire mastery, you should have just taken off the fire skills. It just feels weird to have. Terror Haunch boots. These are cool boots that just don't see use at all. I feel like, I mean, they have like 10 all res and some bigger, so whatever. Maybe some people use them for early levels, but it would be cool to have joust cooldown reduction, similar to the leap boots that barbarians have, where it, I think, increases the speed of their leap. Same kind of idea. I think Terror Haunch are more paladin boots and give. I think right now I think it's frustrating that you have to either use King of Lyric's sword, a two-handed sword, or Alma Negra, which is a mainly ED item, to get the joust cooldown reduction. So casters are kind of just like, eh. So I think having Terror Haunch with cooldown reduction with joust cooldown reduction would be really, really good. Make another two curse item like Raycors. I love the idea of having multiple curses, but it's hard to do that unless you're like running the Act 4 Mercenary or a Barbarian who can use Raycors. So I think it'd be cool to have another 2 curse item. All right, going into some other easy stuff, just some other itemization. Rares, I think it's not really worth picking up helmets or gloves, or helmets that aren't like class-specific helmets, or rare gloves. I mean, yes, rare gloves are going to be worth picking up. I'll still pick them up, but I think it would be cool to have like ED or FCR, especially mainly on helmets, but also on gloves, I guess. So I always love picking up rares, and I know some people are like, no, don't make me pick up more rares, but I like it. I think it's cool. I think it's cool part of the game. Let's see, magic items. I think magic jewels should be more likely to roll 2 mods. Initially, I said they should always roll 2 mods because you're still going to be throwing jewels on the ground like all the time, or not. I mean, obviously you want to use them for crafting, but it gets frustrating to pick up jewels when they're just like never going to be good. You might as well just buy them. So I think making them more likely or to always roll 2 mods would be awesome. Magic rings, similar to like how your amulets can roll plus 3 on particular skills. I think the magic ring should be able to roll 20 FCR, making it worth them picking up. Again, people are going to like say nay because I don't want to pick up more things, but I just think it'd be cool to have rings, like have something for them that is only for magic rings. So yeah, 20 FCR. Quick mercenary changes. Act 4 light merc should definitely have magic master and pierce. I think he's such like, I don't know, Act 4 needs some love, man. And you know, right now they're just aura bots and they don't really do anything else. Aura or curse bots, and I don't really think people use them. Act 3 Holy Shock obviously needs mastery nerf. I think from what I heard, it was an oversight that like they're that high, so I think just bring that down a little bit. Yeah, and I realize this is going to see a lot of adjustment this season because I think a lot of people have been taking advantage of that insane mastery buff with the War Strike. And then Act 3 Cold and Fire, I think their masteries are fine, but their primary skills suck. I think the primary skills are like only like level 16 or something at max level, whereas you see like Act 1 Mercenaries or other things using primary skills that are up to like 30, I think. So I would just increase their primary skills. All right. Let's see. Moving on to what's next. All right. Sorry, I had to take a quick second to breathe. Next up, we're going to talk about some maps. I would love to see a density tracker for maps. I think, I don't know how hard that is to do, but in my mind, just like as you discover the mobs in the map, it just adds to the total number of mobs on the map. And then whatever you kill just subtracts from that total number and you get a percent displayed on your screen. So it definitely is frustrating when you see people putting out like these GG builds and you don't feel like they're clearing much of the map, and then you know maybe you can see them get to the end of the map and they've cleared like 60% of it, and you're like, well, what the hell? But also for the person, I mean, I like having completion. I like clearing my maps, so it would be nice to have like a percentage clear to see how well I'm doing that. Nerf the amount of plus life maps can slam. That is the most frustrating thing, to have like a really cool map and you're like, sweet, like it got, you know, it didn't have any plus life and had good density. Let's give it a quick slam. And then all of a sudden you slam like 30 or more plus life on it. I forget how high it can slam, but it's definitely just frustrating. I would just reduce the amount that plus life can slam. Blue maps. I know this is another point of contention that people talk about. The density should be similar to rare maps. I don't think the density should be something that has to increase as you increase map quality. I think it should just roll more rewarding mods to it. But density, I think, is something that should stay pretty static. And blue maps should feel good to run. So I would say increase the density. I also said like maybe give blue maps like some cool thing that they could roll that that rare maps can't roll, that to incentivize people to do it or to pick them up or to ID them. Similar to like how like I said, the amulet or the ring can roll something for magic that rares can't. Horizon event. This is something else I say every season. I don't think he should just open up the map. It's frustrating when you're just getting on to do a single map and now you kind of feel obligated to do another map if maybe you didn't have time to do that. So it should drop the map instead of automatically opening it. Going into now just like miscellaneous, and we're towards the end of it. Two-hand weapon slams should roll a minimum of 3 sockets. I think it's very frustrating that they can't, or that they can roll 1 socket. I think it feels really bad. Again, that's similar to like the CTA I talked about. It's just a feel bad part of the game when they can't roll 2, or when you slam a single socket in a big cool item. pressing backslash, again, just quality of life thing, I think should bring up your chat box. I think that's something that's common to a lot of video games, is like when you press backslash, it automatically brings up your chat box so you can start typing. So I think that's just a small change that should be a thing. Shrine buffs on your buff bar, that would be very nice to be able to track your shrine buff. For multiple reasons, but I just think, you know, having that data on your screen would just be nice to see. Experience gains should be increased as the season progresses after an obvious delay. I think it would be just incentivize more people to push to 99 if the experience, if it was a little easier as you got later into the levels or later into the season. So that'd be nice. Control click on a stack to remove one item from the stack. As of right now, control clicking on a stack doesn't do anything. Now you can pick up the stack, control click, and it will drop a single item. But just as in terms of like reducing the number of total clicks you need to do in this game, which is very click heavy, I think being able to go to a stack, control click on it should remove one item from that stack. Similar thing on like click reduction is if you shift click the drop gold while in your bank, like from your inventory, it should just send the gold from your inventory to your bank. Be another nice change. We're getting into now more like random things I've thought about that I wanted to just include as I was making this list. Purchasable boss events that have a small chance to drop anti-torch. I think this would be cool for players who don't really like farming the materials or can't really farm the materials, but want to boss, like maybe they have a cool boss or like a barbarian that they can't farm materials on. So it'd be cool to just have an ability or have a way for them to just sort of like get right into bossing, with obviously a very small chance at a reward, but you know, obviously with when you're able to purchase it, you're not going to have that a guaranteed drop. So that'd be nice. What do we build? Magic builds. Yeah, so magic builds are just feel weird. I feel like there needs to be more itemization when it comes to magic skill damage or magic pierce. Now I know this is a very like, you got to be careful on it because magic can get way out of control and there's not a lot of magic community in the game, but it would be cool for itemization to have more, like maybe another item or two that has magic skill damage or magic pierce, because as of right now I don't think there's any magic skill damage items other than just large charms, which is just kind of boring. Same thing with the shift click stuff. I should have put that up there, but when you shift click a potion from your stash, it should go directly to your belt. Right now when you shift click a potion in your stash, it doesn't do anything, so it'd be nice to send it directly to your belt. I don't know if that's possible. Just because I know a lot of like bossers will have a ton of rejuves in their stash, and it would be nice to be able to just send it directly to belt. Next up, spell queuing. I don't know if this is possible, but I have definitely found with a lot of my builds where I feel like I'm weaving in my teleport, my blink ability, and I expect it to go off. I expect it to happen, but it always doesn't, and I need like a fraction of a second longer to like cast it and wait before it actually goes. So it just doesn't. It feels like it should cast, but it doesn't. Like when I'm just going doing maps and like it weaving in my abilities. So I don't know if spell queuing is possible, and I think that's the reason it's not happening. But yeah, it would be nice to have spell queuing. I don't know. Have freeze duration corruption would be cool to have. I think it would be nice to like the half freeze duration equaling, or two of them equaling CBF. I think is a really cool addition to the game. And it would be cool to make like maybe you make a half freeze duration ring with a diamond, and you know, maybe you get half freeze duration corruption on your boots or something that gives you CBF. So I don't know, that'd be nice corruption to have. This one I've also said all the time through the seasons. Two-hand swords, as of right now, do not gain ED benefits from dex. One-hand swords do gain ED benefits from both dex and strength. Meaning, as you put a point into dex or strength, it gains enhanced damage. Pole arms do that as well. They also get enhanced damage from ED or from strength and dexterity, but two-hand swords continue to not. They only get ED from strength. That's frustrating because there are some two-handed swords that require obscene amounts of dexterity, so you're not really getting the same benefit that you would a pole arm. So I would like to have that. Lastly, cubing puzzle pieces into a puzzle box. I think this is also something that's been floated around a lot for many seasons. I think it'd be cool. I think a lot of times I end up having way too many puzzle pieces and not enough puzzle boxes, so it'd be nice to cube them into them. One thing I just kind of forgot at the very end, and I apologize. One of our good buddies in Discord, Onion, gave me a really cool idea when talking about Amazon, to have an ability to change positions with a decoy. So have a skill that actually change positions with your decoy. And I think that's a really cool idea by him. I think it would really give the it would give Amazons that teleport, that blink ability they need, and it's a pretty unique spin on it. So like, yeah, you put your pet out and you change positions with it, and I think that gives the benefit of like, one, you're getting a teleport, and two, that decoy can then sort of clean up whatever mobs you left behind. So I mean, I think that was an awesome idea. So good job. All right. I'm pretty sure that was the list, guys. I think I went through everything that I wanted to talk about. Again, sorry if this was too extensive, but I just wanted to go through all my ideas. Feel free to leave feedback, comments on what you liked, what you didn't like. I don't know. These are all ways to improve the game, in my opinion. So if you have any thoughts, let me know. But that's it, guys. Have a good rest of your day. Bye.